Captain Jake Thompson wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stared at the radar screen. Another boring day at Mining Station Alpha 7, floating in the middle of nowhere between two dead planets. He'd been running this operation for 3 years now, and honestly, most days felt exactly the same. Wake up, check the equipment, supervise the crew, go to sleep, repeat. But today was different. "Captain, you need to see this," called out his communications officer, Lisa Chen, from across the control room. Her voice had that edge to it that meant something was actually happening for once. Jake walked over to her station, his boots making that familiar metallic sound on the floor. The station wasn't fancy, just functional. Everything was gray metal and blinking lights. "Home sweet home," he thought sarcastically. "What have you got, Lisa?" She pointed at her screen, where a small blip was moving slowly across the display. A known object, about 2 kilometers out. It's not on any shipping schedules. And it's moving weird, almost like it's drifting. Jake leaned closer. In his experience, things that drifted in space were usually bad news. Either someone was in trouble, or someone was trying to cause trouble. Either way, it meant paperwork. Any signals coming from it? Nothing. Complete radio silence. "But Jake," Lisa hesitated. "The energy signature is strange. It's not human tech." That got his attention. Non-human meant alien, and aliens meant complications, big ones. The kind that involved government officials asking lots of questions and filling out forms in triplicate. "All right, put it on the main screen." The large display flickered to life, showing a grainy image of a small, damaged spacecraft. It was definitely not human-made. The design was too smooth, too curved, like someone had grown it rather than built it. Parts of it were clearly damaged, with what looked like burn marks along one side. "Definitely not one of ours," muttered Tom Bradley, the station's chief engineer, who had wandered over to look. "Never seen anything like it." Jake rubbed his chin, thinking. Protocol said to report any alien contact immediately to Earth Command. But protocol also said a lot of things that didn't always make sense when you were actually out here, in the middle of nowhere. Any life signs? Lisa worked her controls for a moment. Faint ones. Very faint. Whatever's in there, it's barely alive. That decided it for Jake. He might be just a mining supervisor, but he wasn't the kind of person who could ignore someone in trouble, human or otherwise. "Tom, prep the shuttle. We're going out there." "Jake, are you sure about this? Shouldn't we call it in first and wait 6 hours for some bureaucrat to tell us what we already know? That thing will be dead by then." Jake was already moving toward the equipment lockers. "Besides, it's just a rescue mission. Help someone out, drop them off at the nearest starport. Simple." If only he'd known how wrong he was. 20 minutes later, Jake and Tom were suited up and heading toward the alien craft in their small shuttle. Up close, the damage was even more obvious. Whatever had happened to this ship? It hadn't been an accident. The burns looked like weapon hits. Someone was shooting at this thing. Tom observed, echoing Jake's thoughts. "Yeah, question is who and why." They managed to dock with the alien ship. Though it took some creative engineering on Tom's part, the airlocks weren't compatible. But they made it work. They always did. The inside of the ship was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The walls seemed to curve naturally, almost organic. Strange symbols glowed faintly along what he assumed were control panels. And it was cold, very cold. "Life support's failing," Tom said, checking his readings. "Whatever's in here won't last much longer." They found her in what looked like a passenger compartment, though it was hard to tell for sure. She was small, maybe 5.5 feet tall, with skin that had a strange blue-silver color to it. Her hair was white, almost translucent, and her eyes were huge and seemed to glow with their own light. She was unconscious, barely breathing, and looked young, maybe 20 in human years, though who knew how alien aging worked. As Tom started, alive, but barely, Jake knelt beside her, up close. He could see she was definitely humanoid, but different enough that there was no mistaking her for human. "Help me get her to the shuttle." Getting her back to the station was tricky. They had to carry her in a makeshift environmental suit, not knowing what kind of atmosphere she needed. But somehow they managed. Dr. Amy Foster, the station's medical officer, was waiting in the medical bay when they arrived. Amy was good at her job, but she'd never treated an alien before. None of them had. "Well, this is a first," she said, scanning the alien girl with her medical equipment. "Her vital signs are weak, but stable. Body temperature is lower than human normal. But I think that's just how her species works. She's dehydrated and exhausted. But she should recover. Any idea what species she is?" Jake asked. "I can run a DNA comparison against the galactic database, but it'll take time. For now, I'm just going to treat her like a human and hope for the best." It was 3 hours before she woke up. Jake was sitting beside her bed, reading reports and trying not to think about all the regulations he was probably breaking by not reporting this immediately. Her eyes opened slowly, those strange glowing eyes focusing on him for a moment. They just stared at each other. Then she tried to sit up, panic filling her face. She said something in a language he'd never heard before, musical and flowing, but clearly distressed. Then she tried to get out of bed, stumbling and nearly falling. Hey, it's okay," Jake said, gently helping her back onto the bed. "You're safe. No one's going to hurt you." She looked at him with those big eyes, and even though he couldn't understand her words, he could see the fear in them, the kind of deep, bone-deep fear that came from something terrible. The station's computer system kicked in, analyzing her speech patterns and trying to translate. It took several minutes, but finally, words started appearing on the screen. "Please. Help a danger. Please never left me alone." Her voice was soft, musical, but filled with desperation. She kept repeating the same phrase over and over, looking directly at him. "Please never left me alone." Jake felt something twist in his chest. He'd seen fear before, but this was different. This was the kind of fear that came from being hunted, from being completely alone in the universe with nowhere to turn. "It's okay," he said quietly, though he wasn't sure she could understand him yet. "You're not alone. We're going to help you." The translation system was getting better, picking up more of her language. She was definitely female, definitely young, and definitely terrified of something or someone. "What's your name?" he asked. She looked confused for a moment, then seemed to understand. "Zara," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Zara, that's a pretty name. I'm Jake. You're safe now, Zara. Whatever happened to you, whatever you're running from, you're safe here." She looked at him for a long moment, then said something that the computer translated as promise. "I promise." It was a simple word, but Jake meant it. He didn't know what he was getting himself into, didn't know what she was running from or why someone had been shooting at her ship. But looking at this scared, lost girl, he knew he couldn't just hand her over to the authorities and forget about her. "Please never left me alone," she said again, and this time, Jake understood it wasn't just a request, it was a plea for survival. 3 weeks had passed since Jake found Zara drifting in space, and the mining station had become a very different place. The alien girl followed him everywhere, like a shadow that never left his side. At first, the crew thought it was strange, but they were starting to get used to it. "Morning, Jake." "Morning, Zara," called out Lisa from the communications desk as Jake started his daily rounds. Zara nodded politely, still staying close to Jake's side. Her English was getting better every day. The station's learning system helped, but Zara seemed to pick up languages naturally. She was smart, really smart, though she tried to hide it sometimes. "How did you sleep?" Jake asked her as they walked toward the engine room. "Good," she said, though her accent made it sound musical. "Dream not scary last night." Jake had learned not to ask about the scary dreams. Whatever Zara had been through before he found her, it still haunted her at night. Sometimes he could hear her crying through the thin walls of the station, but she never wanted to talk about it. They found Tom working on one of the mining processors, covered in grease and muttering under his breath. "Morning, Tom. How's she running?" "Like a sick dog," Tom replied, wiping his hands on a rag. "But she'll hold together. Always does." He looked at Zara with a smile. "Hey there, Kid, want to help me with this? Zara looked at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. She'd been helping round the station more and more, and everyone agreed she had a gift for understanding machines. She moved closer to the processor, placing her hands on the metal surface. Her eyes closed for a moment, and Jake watched as she seemed to concentrate. It was something she did sometimes, this strange way of sensing things. The flow is blocked here, she said, pointing to a section of the machine. Something wrong inside. Tom raised an eyebrows. You sure about that? Zara nodded. Tom shrugged and opened the panel sheet indicated. Inside, they found a clogged filter. That would have taken hours to locate using normal methods. How did you know? Tom asked, genuinely curious. I feel the energy, Zara said simply. Like hearing music, but with machines. It was one of the things that made her special. Jake had learned. Her people, the Villani, could sense electromagnetic fields and energy patterns. It made them natural engineers and pilots. That's incredible, Jake said. On your world, do many people have this ability? Zara's face darkened slightly. Yes, but my people. They use it for bad things sometimes. Make weapons, make control systems. She paused. Make people do things they not want to do. There it was again. That hint of something dark in her past. Jake had learned to be patient, to let her share things. When she was ready, pushing too hard only made her shut down. They continued their rounds, checking the various systems that kept the station running. Zara helped where she could, her natural abilities making several repairs much easier. The crew was beginning to appreciate having her around. During lunch, Dr. Amy Foster joined them in the small cafeteria. She'd been studying Zara's biology, trying to understand her species better. I've been comparing your DNA to the galactic database, Amy said to Zara. Your people are called the Villani, right? From the Andromeda sector? Zara nodded, but Jake noticed she tensed up whenever anyone mentioned her home. According to the records, the Villani are known for their technological abilities and their complex social structure. Very advanced civilization. Yes, Zara said. Quietly. Very advanced, very controlled. What do you mean by controlled? Jake asked gently. Zara looked around the table, then at Jake. After a moment, she seemed to make a decision. In my world, families decide everything. Who you marry, what job you do, where you live. No choice. Her voice got smaller. If you were born with strong abilities, like me, you are valuable, like property. The table went quiet. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. What happened to you, Zara? Why were you running? She was quiet for a long time, staring at her food. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. My family, they make deal with powerful man, very bad man. He already have many wives, but he want me because I have strong gift. He pay much money to my family. Arranged marriage? Amy asked, horrified. Not marriage. Ownership. Zara's hands were shaking slightly. He already have my sister. She tried to run away, but they catch her. She died trying to escape. The silence that followed was heavy. Jake reached over and gently placed his hand on hers. She didn't pull away. I steal ship and run, she continued. But his soldiers, they follow me. They shoot my ship, damage it bad. I think I'm going to die in space. But you didn't, Jake said firmly. You made it. You're here, and you're safe. A.M. Zara looked at him with those big, glowing eyes. What if they find me? What if they come here? Then we'll deal with it, Jake said without hesitation. All of us, Tom nodded. Damn right we will. Lisa spoke up from across the table. You're part of the crew now, Zara. We look after our own. For the first time since Jake had found her. Zara smiled, really smiled, not just the polite one she usually wore. Thank you, she said. On my world, people not help strangers. Too dangerous. But humans, you are different. How so? Amy asked. You help because it's the right thing to do. Not because you get something. I not understand this before. But now I see. She looked at Jake. You save me when you not have to. You could give me to authorities. But you keep me safe. Jake felt embarrassed by the praise. Anyone would have done the same thing. No, Zara said firmly. Not anyone, only humans. Think like this, only humans say we help because we can. This is why I never want to leave. As the days passed, Jake began to understand more about Zara's world. The Villani had incredible technology, but their society was rigid and often cruel. Individual freedom was a foreign concept to them. The idea that someone could choose their own path in life was revolutionary. In return, Zara was fascinated by human culture. She asked endless questions about families, about friendship, about the concept of personal choice. She was like a child discovering colors for the first time. One evening, as they sat in the observation deck looking out at the stars, Zara asked a question that caught Jake off guard. Jake, what is love? He looked at her, surprised. What do you mean? On your world, people choose who they love. Yes, they're not told who to love. That's right. We choose for ourselves. But how you know? How you know if someone is right person? Jake thought about it. I guess you feel it. Here, he pointed to his chest. When you care about someone more than yourself, when you want to protect them, make them happy, even if it costs you something. Zara nodded slowly. I think I understand. She was quiet for a moment. I feel this for you, for everyone here. Is this love? A kind of love, yes, love for family, for friends, people who matter. To you? Then I love you, she said simply. All of you. You are my family now. Jake felt something warm in his chest. We love you too, Zara. That's why we'll never let anyone hurt you. She smiled at him, and for the first time since he found her, Jake saw hope in her eyes instead of fear. Thank you for never leaving me alone, she said. Never, Jake promised. That's what family does. The alarm that woke Jake at 3 in the morning was not one he'd ever heard before. It was the long-range sensor alert, the one that meant big ships were coming their way. He rolled out of bed and rushed to the command center, where he found Lisa already at her post, her face pale. What do we have? He asked, pulling on his uniform jacket. 3 ships, Jake. Big ones. They're not responding to our hails. But they're definitely heading straight for us. Lisa's voice was tight with worry. And Jake, they're not human ships. Jake's blood ran cold. He'd been expecting this day for weeks, hoping it would never come. Where's Zara? In her quarters, I think. Should I wake her? No, not yet. Let me see what we're dealing with first. The main screen flickered to life, showing 3 massive vessels approaching the station. They were sleek and curved, like Zara's escape pod, but 100 times larger, even from a distance. Jake could see they were heavily armed. Tom arrived at the command center, followed by Dr. Amy, both looking concerned. Those are warships, Tom said grimly. Definitely military. Villani, Jake said quietly. They found her. As if summoned by his words, Zara appeared in the doorway. She was wearing her sleeping clothes, but her eyes were wide with terror. She took one look at the screen and stumbled backward. No, she whispered. No, no, no. They found me. They found me. Jake moved quickly to her side, catching her as she nearly fell. Zara, it's okay. We're going to figure this out. You don't understand, she said, her voice shaking. Those are his ships. The man who wants to own me. He never give up. Never stop looking. The communication system crackled to life, and a voice spoke in the musical language of the Villani. The station's translator worked to convert it to English. But Jake could tell from Zara's reaction that it wasn't good news. Human station. The translated voice said, cold and commanding. You are harboring stolen property belonging to Lord Kethver of the Villani High Council. Return the female immediately or face the consequences. Jake stepped forward to the communication panel. This is Captain Jake Thompson of Mining Station Alpha 7. We don't recognize the concept of people as property. The person you're looking for is under our protection. There was a long pause, then laughter. Cold, mocking laughter. You amuse me, human. You think your small station can protect anything from us? We have come to reclaim what belongs to Lord Kethver. Stand aside, or be destroyed. Zara was now shaking so hard she could barely stand. Jake, she whispered. Please don't let them take me. Please. I'd rather die than go back. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. He looked around at his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. "We're not giving her up," he said firmly. "Not to anyone." The next few hours were tense. The Volani ships took positions around the station, making it clear that no one was leaving. Jake tried to contact Earth Command, but the aliens were jamming their long-range communications. "We're on our own," Lisa reported. "They're not letting any signals through." Jake had dealt with difficult situations before, but nothing like this. He was a mining supervisor, not a military commander. But as he looked at Zara, still trembling with fear, he knew he had to find a way. "Tell me about their laws," he said to Zara. "There has to be something. Some rule or custom we can use." Zara shook her head. "You don't understand. In my world, if Lord Kethfer wants something, he take it. He is too powerful. My family, they already take his money. In law, I belong to him. But you ran away. That has to count for something. Running away just make punishment worse." Zara's voice was barely audible. "He will make example of me. Show other females what happened when they try to escape." Tom was monitoring the alien ships on his sensors. "They're not just sitting there," he reported. "They're scanning us, probably, looking for weak points." "How long before they just blast their way in?" Amy asked. "I don't think they will," Jake said, an idea forming. "They want Zara alive, right? They can't risk damaging the station too much." "What are you thinking?" Lisa asked. Jake was quiet for a moment, his mind racing. "Zara, you said your people have laws, traditions. What about sanctuary? Is there any way someone can claim protection?" "There's old law," Zara said slowly. "Very old, from before the High Council. If someone in danger, they can ask for guardian protector from another clan. But what? It has to be someone strong enough to defend them, and it make them responsible forever. If something happened to protected person, guardian is blamed." Jake felt a spark of hope. "How does it work?" "The person seeking protection must ask formally. The guardian must accept formally. Then there is ceremony, a bonding of minds. After that, by law, the guardian is responsible for protected person's life. And they would have to respect that." "Yes, but Jake, you don't understand. If you do this, you become target too. Lord Kethfer will never stop hunting you. And the bonding, it is permanent. You will feel my emotions, my pain, my fear, forever." Jake didn't hesitate. "I'm willing to do it." "Jake," Tom said quietly, "you sure about this? This isn't just about helping someone out anymore. This is about your whole life changing." "I know." Jake looked at Zara, seeing the hope and fear warring in her eyes. "But I can't let them take her. I won't." The communication system crackled again. "Human captain, you have 1 hour to comply. Return the female, or we will take her by force." Jake keyed the microphone. "I need to speak with your commander. Face to face." Another long pause. "You wish to negotiate?" "I wish to invoke ancient Volani law, the right of sanctuary and guardian protector." The silence that followed was so long that Jake wondered if they'd cut the connection. Finally, the voice returned, but it sounded different. Surprised. "You know of the old ways?" "I know enough. Will you honor them, if properly invoked?" "Yes." "But human, you do not understand what you ask. The bonding cannot be undone. The responsibility cannot be transferred." Jake looked at Zara one more time. She was staring at him with those big, glowing eyes, and he saw something in them he'd never seen before. Not just hope, but complete trust. "I understand," he said. "I accept the responsibility." Within an hour, a small Volani shuttle had docked with the station. The alien who emerged was tall, nearly 7 feet, with the same silver-blue skin as Zara, but darker, more metallic. His eyes were cold and calculating. "I'm Commander Thexara," he said in accented English. "I represent Lord Kethfer. You are the human who wishes to claim this female. I am Captain Jake Thompson, and yes," Thexara looked at Zara with disgust, "you would bond yourself to this runaway, this dishonored female who brings shame to her family." "I would protect someone who deserves protection," Jake replied firmly. "Very well. If the female requests sanctuary, and you accept guardianship, the old law will be honored. But know this, human, Lord Kefir will not forget this. Insult. You make enemy of powerful being. Jake stepped forward. I'll take that risk. Zara moved to stand beside him. Her voice was stronger now, more confident. I, Zara of the Villani, request sanctuary under the old law. I ask Jake Thompson of Earth to be my guardian protector. I, Jake Thompson, accept the responsibility of guardian protector. I will defend Zara with my life. What happened next was unlike anything Jake had ever experienced. Zara placed her hands on his temples, and suddenly he could feel her mind touching his. For a moment, he experienced her memories, the fear, the pain, the desperate flight through space, but also her growing trust, her affection for him and the crew in return. She felt his determination, his protective instincts, his genuine care for her well-being. When it was over, they were both breathing hard, but Jake felt different. He could sense Zara's emotions, her relief and gratitude. It is done, Vexara said coldly. The law is satisfied. But human, you have made powerful enemy this day. Worth it. Jake said simply. As the Villani ships departed, Jake put his arm around Zara's shoulders. She leaned against him, and for the first time since he'd found her, she wasn't afraid. Thank you, she whispered, for never leaving me alone. The days following the confrontation were strange for Jake. The mental bond with Zara was something he'd never experienced before. He could feel her emotions like background music in his mind. Her relief, her gratitude, but also her lingering fear that this peace wouldn't last. You're different, Tom observed one morning as they worked on the station's power grid. Since the ceremony, you seem more aware of things. Jake nodded, trying to explain something he barely understood himself. It's like having another sense. I can feel when she's happy, when she's worried. It's not invasive. Just there. Must be weird, having someone else's feelings in your head. Actually, it's kind of comforting. I know she's okay without having to ask. What Jake didn't mention was how the bond worked both ways. Zara could feel his emotions too, and lately, he'd been sensing something from her that made him curious, a growing confidence. Like she was finally starting to believe she might actually be safe. 3 weeks after the Villani ships left, Jake was in his office reviewing supply reports when Lisa's voice came over the intercom. Urgent and worried. Jake, you need to get to the communications center. Now. He found the whole crew gathered around Lisa's station, their faces grim. On the screen was a message from Earth Command. And it wasn't good news. What's the situation? Jake asked. Earth Command received a formal complaint from the Villani High Council, Lisa said. They're demanding we hand over Zara. They claim we're harboring a criminal. Jake felt his stomach drop. What did you tell them? I told them they'd have to talk to you. But Jake, they're sending an official delegation. Admiral Peterson himself is coming to investigate. Jake knew Admiral Peterson by reputation. He was a by-the-book officer who didn't like complications. The kind of man who would follow regulations, even if it meant sending an innocent person to their doom. When will he arrive? Jake asked. 2 days. That evening, Jake found Zara in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He could feel her anxiety through their bond, a constant low-level worry that made his own chest tight. You heard about the Admiral coming, he said, sitting beside her. Double quotes. Yes, you're worried. I can feel it. I'm not worried about protecting you. I'm worried about the politics of it all. Zara was quiet for a moment. Jake, maybe it better if I go with them. If I leave, you and crew will be safe. Absolutely not. Jake's response was immediate and firm. We're not giving up on you now. But if Earth Command order it, then we'll find another way. There has to be something in galactic law that protects refugees. Zara looked at him with those glowing eyes. Why you do this? Why you risk everything for me? Jake thought about it. Because it's the right thing to do. Because you deserve to choose your own life. And because. He paused, realizing something he hadn't fully admitted to himself before. Because you're family now. Really family. Through their bond, he felt her surprise. Then a warm wave of affection that made him smile. I feel same way, she said softly. You are more family to me than blood relatives ever were. The next day brought unexpected help. Dr. Amy had been researching galactic law, looking for any precedent that might help Zara's case. I found something, she announced during the morning briefing. The Universal Rights Declaration, established 50 years ago. It specifically states that any sentient being has the right to asylum if they face persecution in their home system. That's great, Tom said. But will Earth Command recognize it? They have to, Amy replied. Earth is a signatory to the declaration. They're legally bound to honor it. Jake felt a spark of hope. What do we need to do? Zara has to formally request asylum, and we need to document the persecution she faced. I can do that. Zara said quietly. I can tell them everything. When Admiral Peterson arrived, he was exactly what Jake had expected. Tall, stern, with gray hair and cold eyes that seemed to evaluate everything in terms of regulations and procedures. Captain Thompson, he said as he boarded the station. I understand you've created quite a diplomatic situation here. I've protected someone who needed protection, sir. That's not your decision to make, Captain. You're a mining supervisor, not a diplomat. The formal hearing took place in the station's main conference room. Admiral Peterson sat at one end of the table, with Zara and Jake on the other side. The rest of the crew was present as witnesses. Miss Zara, the Admiral began. The Villani High Council claims you are a criminal who stole property and fled justice. What is your response to these charges? Zara had been nervous all morning, but now she sat up straight, her voice clear and steady. The property they speak of is myself, Admiral. In my culture, females are bought and sold like objects. I refuse to be owned. The Villani have assured us that their marriage customs are legal under their law. Legal, yes, but not right. Zara's voice grew stronger. They told you about marriage, but they did not tell you about my sister, did they? Admiral Peterson frowned. What about your sister? She was given to same man before me. When she tried to escape, they caught her. They made example of her to show other females what happened if they run away. She died in their custody. The room went silent. Jake could feel Zara's pain through their bond, the grief she carried for her sister. Do you have proof of this? The Admiral asked. I have records, Dr. Amy interjected, pulling up files on her tablet. Medical scans show old injuries consistent with severe physical punishment, and we intercepted communications from the Villani ships that mentioned making an example of her, just like they did with her sister. Admiral Peterson studied the information for a long time. When he looked up, his expression had changed. Miss Zara, are you formally requesting asylum under the Universal Rights Declaration? Yes, sir, I am. And Captain Thompson, you're willing to take responsibility for her as her guardian protector? I am, sir, completely. The Admiral was quiet for several minutes, reviewing documents on his tablet. Finally, he spoke. The evidence supports a claim of persecution. Under the Universal Rights Declaration, I'm granting Miss Zara's asylum status. She will remain under the protection of Earth Command. Jake felt relief flood through him, matched by Zara's joy through their bond. However, the Admiral continued, this will have diplomatic consequences. The Villani are not happy with this decision. Captain Thompson, your station may become a target. We can handle it, sir. I hope so, because this decision will likely make you some very powerful enemies. After the Admiral left, the crew celebrated quietly. Zara was officially safe, protected by Earth law. But Jake knew the Admiral was right about the consequences. That night, as they sat in the observation deck again, Zara leaned against Jake's shoulder. Thank you, she said, for everything, for saving me, for protecting me, for giving me choice in my life. You don't need to thank me, Jake replied. Family protects family. Is that what we are? Family? Jake thought about it. Through their bond, he could feel her hope, her need to belong somewhere. Yeah, he said. That's exactly what we are. Through the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly in all directions. Somewhere out there, the Villani were probably planning their next move. But here, on this small mining station, a scared alien girl had found a home, and Jake had found something to a purpose bigger than mining asteroids and filing reports. He found family worth fighting for. Whatever comes next, he said quietly. We'll face it together. Zara smiled, and through their bond, he felt her complete trust and love together. She agreed, always together. 6 months had passed since Admiral Peterson granted Zara asylum, and Mining Station Alpha 7 had become something nobody expected. What started as a simple mining operation was now the most productive station in the sector, and it was all thanks to Zara's unique abilities. Another record month, Lisa announced during the morning briefing, showing the productivity numbers on her screen. We're pulling in 3 times more valuable minerals than any other station. Jake looked across the table at Zara, who was studying the geological reports with intense concentration. Her confidence had grown tremendously over the past months. She no longer flinched at sudden noises or stayed glued to the side every moment of the day. The new deposit in Sector 7 looks promising, Zara said, pointing to the data. I can feel strong energy patterns there, probably rare earth elements. Tom grinned. Your electromagnetic sensing is better than our best equipment. We would have missed that deposit completely. It was true. Zara's natural abilities had revolutionized their mining operations. She could sense mineral deposits from incredible distances, locate the richest veins, and even predict when equipment was about to fail. The crew had learned to trust her instincts completely. Speaking of equipment, Dr. Amy said, we're getting another delegation from Earth Command next week. They want to study how our productivity increased so dramatically. Jake felt it familiar. Protective instinct rise in his chest through their bond. He sensed Zara's slight anxiety at the mention of officials. It's okay, he said, both to the room and directly to Zara through their connection. They're just scientists this time, not investigators. The mental bond between them had deepened over the months. Jake could now sense Zara's emotions clearly, and she could feel his. It had taken some getting used to, but now he couldn't imagine life without that constant, comforting connection. After the briefing, Jake and Zara took their usual walk through the station. It had become a daily routine, checking on everything and everyone. But today felt different somehow. Jake, Zara said as they stopped at the observation deck. I have been thinking about something. What's that? Other Volani girls. Ones like me, who are trapped, who want to escape but have nowhere to go. Jake had been wondering when this conversation would come. Over the past few weeks, he'd noticed Zara becoming more thoughtful, more concerned about others. You want to help them, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, but I not know how. If they come here, will Earth protect them too? Before Jake could answer, Lisa's voice came over the intercom. Jake, you need to get to communications. We're receiving a message on Volani frequencies. They hurried to the communications center, where Lisa was working frantically at her console. It's heavily encrypted, but the computer is making progress on the translation. The message, when it finally came through, was not what any of them expected. It was from a young Volani female, her voice desperate and frightened. Please, if anyone can hear this, I need help. My name is Kira. I heard about the human station that protected a Volani girl. I am an escape pod, but my family ships are following. Please, I don't want to be sold to Lord Vexstar. He already killed his last wife. Please help me. Zara grabbed Jake's arm. We have to help her. Where is she? Jake asked Lisa. About 6 hours away at current speed. But Jake, there are 3 Volani ships pursuing her. Big ones. Tom whistled. Lo, here we go again. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his heart. What do you all think? We can't just let her die, Dr. Amy said firmly. Agreed, Tom nodded. Besides, we've got experience with this kind of situation now. Lisa smiled. I'm already plotting an intercept course. Jake turned to Zara. This is going to put us all at risk again. Are you sure about this? Jake, you taught me that humans help because it is the right thing to do. Now I am human too, in my heart. We help her. The rescue operation was more complex this time. Jake took a small team in their fastest shuttle, while the station prepared to receive another refugee. When they found Kira's escape pod, It was damaged and losing life support rapidly. Got her. Tom reported as they brought the pod into the shuttle bay. She's alive, but barely. Kira was younger than Zara, maybe 18. With the same silver blue skin but darker hair. She was unconscious and badly dehydrated. As Dr. Amy worked to stabilize her, Jake couldn't help but think about how similar this was to finding Zara 6 months ago. The pursuing Volani ships arrived just as they made it back to the station. But this time, Jake was ready for them. Volani vessels, this is Captain Thompson. The person you're pursuing has requested asylum under the Universal Rights Declaration. We are prepared to defend that right. The response was immediate and angry. Human, you interfere in matters that do not concern you. Return our property immediately. People are not property, Jake replied firmly. That's something you need to understand. What happened next surprised everyone. Zara stepped forward to the communication panel and began speaking in her native language. Her voice was strong and confident, completely different from the frightened girl Jake had found months ago. The argument that followed was heated, but Jake could tell from Zara's body language that she was holding her own. Finally, she switched back to English. I told them about the Universal Rights Declaration, she explained. I told them that Earth will protect any Volani who asks for asylum. I also told them that treating people as property is primitive and shameful. The Volani commander's response was furious, but eventually, the ships withdrew. They had no choice but to respect Earth's laws. When Kira woke up, her first words were the same as Zara's had been months ago. Please never leave me alone. You're safe now, Zara assured her, taking her hand. These humans, they will protect you. They protected me. Over the following days, Kira's story emerged. Like Zara, she was being forced into marriage with a powerful and cruel Volani lord. Like Zara, she had a special gift that made her valuable. And like Zara, she had lost a sister to the same system. This cannot continue, Zara said one evening as she and Jake watched Kira slowly recovering. How many more girls are trapped, like we were? Probably more than we want to think about, Jake replied. Then we make this place safe haven. We tell others they can come here. Jake smiled at her determination. You know that means we're going to make some very powerful enemies. Good, Zara said firmly. Maybe at times someone stood up to them. Word spread quickly through the underground networks of the Volani system. Within weeks, they received 3 more requests for asylum. Each rescue was dangerous. Each one brought more threats from the Volani High Council. But each success also brought something else, hope. The station expanded to accommodate the growing number of refugees. Earth Command, impressed by the station's productivity and the diplomatic breakthrough, provided additional resources and protection. Zara became the unofficial leader of the Volani refugees, helping each new arrival adjust to their freedom. She taught them about human concepts of choice and individual rights. She helped them discover their own abilities and find their place in their new home. One day, as Jake watched Zara teaching a group of young Volani women about Earth customs, he realized how much she had changed. The frightened, desperate girl he'd found in space was gone. In her place was a confident, determined woman who had found her purpose. She's remarkable, Dr. Amy said, joining him in the observation area. Yeah, she is. They all are, you know. There are rumors that other stations are starting to take in Volani refugees too. What you started here is spreading. Jake smiled. Good. Everyone deserves the chance to choose their own life. That evening, Zara found him in his office, reviewing supply requests for their growing community. Thank you, she said, settling into the chair across from his desk. For what this time? For showing me that one person can make difference. For teaching me that sometimes doing right thing is more important than being safe. You taught me a few things too, Jake replied. Like how strong someone can be when they have something worth fighting for. Zara smiled. And through their bond, Jake felt her contentment and hope for the future. What happens next? She asked. We keep helping people. We keep making a difference. We keep being family. Forever, forever, Jake promised. That's what family does. Through the viewport, the stars shone brightly, full of possibility and hope. And on mining station Alpha 7, a small group of humans and Vellani continued to prove that compassion and courage could change the universe, one person at a time.